Hey folks, I'm back. It's been a while. Had all kinds of um, difficulties to do with the internet connection. Had someone come around and look at that, and believe it or not, it was a schoolboy error where it seems to be that the main problem was the lead. So, basically, we had a lead that wasn't working very well. So that was a good start. But we've got that sorted now. And I've had um, various made various different upgrades um, to the setup. So now my internet connection should be fairly solid because I'm on Ethernet as well. And I'm back on the live stream train, bandwagon, whatever you want to call it. But there's a few things that are going to be different from before. For the next month, I'm going to focus on YouTube. I'm not going to stream to multiple different channels just because it reduces complexity for me. And yeah, I'm just kind of, YouTube is, you get the best, well, at this point anyway, you get the best sound quality and the best picture, which is obviously relevant for what we're doing because you might want to see what I'm actually doing on the screen. And on Facebook, you can't really see, what's going on because it's so um, the video is so rubbish. The other thing that um, I've decided to do is not actually schedule live streams because I've found that that's been a bit of a procrastination issue for me. So it's because of like if I have to schedule them, then I have to be there at a certain time, and I have all sorts of things. At this time in the morning for me is extremely premium time, so I've got loads of meetings and everything like that. And so I'm going to go live when I can. But really, here's what I'm doing. Let me just explain what I'm doing. I have a bunch of music that I've been working on in my automatic music machine. In fact, let me show you. I've got a bunch of music that I've been working on in my automatic music machine. I'll shut that down. And essentially, I got one of my team members to put everything that I'd worked on in this section of the machine, which is discover, draft, and done, which is essentially the in progress section of the machine. And I got a team member to put everything that I'd worked on in there in the last year into a separate folder, and then I put it into an iTunes playlist, and there was like 85 tracks in there and about 9 hours worth of music. And so then I've chosen certain tracks and winnowed it down, and I'm left with this music. I mean, I've probably got about 40 that I'd like to finish, but these are the ones I'm kind of working on now. And I've set myself a hard deadline to finish at least this music in the next 4 weeks. And I thought it would be helpful, informative, and fun to share with you my finishing process. Because one of the things I've noticed in coaching so many people over the years is that due to kind of external conditions, essentially the internet and the way that music production is taught and the way that the gear is kind of sold, many music producers struggle to finish music are thinking about choosing how they do things, so that like the techniques, yeah. They're thinking about how they choose their gear, and they're thinking about their workflow in kind of a suboptimal way around. Okay, so essentially, I've noticed that they go, "What do I need to learn to finish great music? What gear do I need to buy to finish great music? And what's the perfect workflow to finish great music?" In other words, when I've learnt, acquired, or worked out this, then I'll make great music. The problem with that way of doing things, I mean, it seems like, I mean, that seems completely correct. Why wouldn't that be the right way around to do it? The thing is, the problem with thinking of it like that is it turns you into a consumer, okay, and moves you away from being a creator, because you've got to learn, acquire, and work out all this stuff before you think about finishing any music. So when I get a new client who is kind of towards the start, an aspiring musician client, I actually get them to, at first, stop the acquisition, the consumption. Yeah. Not because consuming is bad per se, although consuming too much is bad. Obviously, it's bad for in lots of different reasons. But not because you don't consume anything ever, but because until you are consistently finishing music, you actually don't know what to consume, because the amount that you can consume is effectively infinite in this world. We're in a world of massive abundance where you can literally get any piece of information you want or don't want often. You can get almost any bit of gear if you can afford it, or at least you can know about it almost immediately. And there's about 5 billion, this is the ideal workflow for making music, yeah, out there. Yeah. So you're actually looking at infinity. Okay. So you need a method for deciding what it is you want to learn, what it is you want to buy, and what it is you need to work out. Yeah. And the best way of doing that your mentor in leading you to figure out what to decide between is your music, is your finished music, in fact. Now, finished, in my definition, does not have to mean good, because if you're an aspiring musician, you will not have the skills yet to finish music at the level to which you want to. If you're listening to your heroes who have been making, producing music and got this figured out for like the last 20 years or longer, or the last 10 years, the last 5 years, and you've been doing it, I don't know, 5 years, or you haven't you've not been doing it full time, then you haven't had the time yet to build the skills to actually get there. So your music, when you compare it to your heroes, is going to be worse. So you think, oh, I need more stuff. And then you start looking for all of the new stuff. And I'm not going to finish anything until, yeah, but you've got to finish it in order to get that distance so that you can actually work out what gear you want, what gear you need to get to that point, how you're going to make music, because there's 1,000 million different ways to finish music. There isn't a right technique. Yeah, it depends what you want to do, and it depends the kind of artist you want to be. And so, in other words, what I'm talking about is flipping it. Yeah, instead of trying to find all of this stuff before finishing music, finish music in order to know what to do there. It's flipped. Okay. And in me coming back to making music, I immediately finished an album, and that first album is called The Begin, available now on Spotify and Beatport and all musical shops. But anyway, so I released it in when was it? October 2019, and really the story of that album was me being mind blown by how much music technology had come on in the preceding 8 years. And then since then, I've actually been doing the process that I am recommending that you do, which is using the making of music to actually identify what it is, who it is I want to be. Yeah, not thinking my way into any of these things, but actually creating my way into these things. So I'm now finishing a bunch of music right now, as you saw on in my automatic music machine. Go back to it. So how many tracks is it? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I'm not sure whether this one's actually going to make it. Actually, I need to label it. But if I just show you, where is it? Okay, so this is the here are the tracks that I also want to finish. Yeah. So I don't know how many that is. So 20 something. Yeah. But these are the ones I'm really, really like focused on finishing. Actually, there's 65. There you go. So 65. What am I talking about? Not 20. So yeah, here's the ones I'm focused on finishing in the next 4 weeks. Because it struck me that one of, because of the nature of how, the things that I teach, people have seen a lot about how I start music and the start of the process, but they're not seeing an enormous amount about the end. So, essentially what I'm going to be doing over the next 4 weeks is finishing this album and showing you how I am developing a method, Mike Monday's method for making music. That doesn't mean it's your method for making music. So when you're watching the live stream, notice it's almost like you're zooming out rather than how are you using that compressor? Or how are you doing this? Or, I mean, you can take, you can take from that, but also notice how I'm using the making of music to define what it is that I need to get or want to get next in terms of the gear. Yeah. What techniques that I'm going to use, how I'm going to be using the gear, and like what my kind of process is. I don't know why, but I don't like the word workflow. I don't know what it is about the word workflow. I don't like it, but what my actual method is for using the stuff, because each of those things are a part of what make you a unique artist. And that's really the goal, is to kind of make music that sounds unique. So that is what I'm going to be doing on these live streams over the next month. And let's start right now with a track that I'm working on. So you will also notice that I'm using Luna, which is the new UAD DAW. And I'm not going to get into a conversation about why that is right now. But just suffice to say, I was very pleasant, like, despite bugs, because this is only version 1, I was very pleasantly surprised about what Luna can do at the end of the process, particularly. So, the added wrinkle or the added complexity for me is that I'm going to be learning a new DAW while finishing this album. Or as Universal Audio like to say, a new recording system. DAW, basically. Yeah, so I'm learning a new DAW while doing it. So what I've done, actually, is I've printed out the keyboard shortcuts here, so that I can actually try and do it as quickly as possible. Now, let's go and have a look at what I need to do. So this is part 1, and this is just a working title. So this is part 1 of a 2-part track. And what I've been doing recently is developing a new process for actually finishing the music. So basically, essentially, this music in done is the stuff I'm preparing for release. Okay. And just in the last class of the Leap, I had a few light bulb moments by helping people. I'll tell you what, if you want to get super good at something, coach it. It's just like complete game changer. So I had a few light bulbs going off about what happens at the end of the process and why often we can get into this like infinite options situation, and a track looks like it's going to be finished, and then all of a sudden at the end we just kind of lose the plot and go down multiple rabbit holes. It's because at the end of the process we're often focused on asking a question, which is, how can I improve this? Yeah. Which makes sense, right? Again, another one of those things which makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you ask that question? How can I improve this? The reason you don't want to ask that question, you do want to improve it, but you don't want to ask that question of yourself, is that let's just think about this. There is no such thing as a perfect piece of music. Every piece of music in history can be improved. Even though, you might be going, that's not true. I know this piece of music that I absolutely love. Yeah. And that can't be improved. I can promise you that is because you don't want it to change, because you have certain memories attached to it. Yeah. There is no such thing as a perfect piece of music. If there was a perfect piece of music, then if you think about it, that would mean that absolutely everyone would have to agree that it was perfect. Otherwise, it's not perfect. It can't be. So there is no such thing as a perfect piece of music. Every piece of music can be improved. So if every piece of music that's ever been made can be improved, that also means that there are infinite ways it can be improved. So by asking the question, how can I improve this? You are opening your mind to the infinite. You are opening your mind to everything you don't know. And everything you don't know is always going to be infinite as compared to what you do know, which is finite. So at the end of the process, when you're in the greatest state of uncertainty, one of the features at the end of the creative process is that doubt comes along and says, hello, I'm back. And you go, oh, yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign. Sorry, the gate is annoying on the audio. Right, let's turn that down. Is that better? Yeah, so it's a sign that the creative process is about to end. Yeah, that doubt. So when that comes on, your mind is in the biggest state of uncertainty, really, that there is in the creative process, because you're about to face judgment. Yeah, and uncertainty for the human mind is just, it's like it hates it. Yeah, so it tries to look for certainty absolutely everywhere. Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to stop fiddling around with with my vocal settings. I've got a new mic now. So it tries to find certainty, but uncertainty is terrible. It creates a really bad situation for the human brain, because it's how we've survived. As not being the strongest animal out there, but we've still won because we are certainty. Our mind searches for certainty, which is often why we don't finish stuff. Yeah. Because we can be certain that if we don't finish it, that we're not going to face judgment. Yeah. But just imagine when you're in this state of uncertainty at the end of the process, and you start focusing on the infinite, which creates even more uncertainty, because you don't know. I mean, the infinite is inherently uncertain. What you don't know, focusing on an infinite number of things that you don't know, that creates a perfect storm of uncertainty in your mind. So actually, believe it or not, asking that question, how can I improve this? While you do want to improve the piece of music that you're working on, that is actually making things worse. And I had this light bulb moment. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I now know why I've not managed to finish a bunch of music in my career, because I've been asking that very intuitive question, how can I improve this? So what's the alternative? The alternative is focusing on something that is finite, something that you do know. So what do you know when a piece of music gets to this point at the end of the process? What you do know is what it sounds like, right? What you do know is what's there. Yeah? And what is there, if it's not finished yet, are the problems. What are the problems? What is stopping this music from being finished? Yeah, because if there weren't problems, then it would be finished, right? If it was sounding as it wanted to. Yeah. So counterintuitively, by focusing on the obstacles to you finishing it, the problems in this piece of music, the things that you don't like, you are moving your mind away from a state of infinite uncertainty. Sorry, I didn't share my screen there. What are the problems? Yeah. You are moving your mind from a state of infinite uncertainty to finite certainty, because even if there are lots and lots of problems, yeah, it can feel like the problems are infinite sometimes, but they're not when you compare it to all of the things that you don't know. Yeah. So what I've already done with this track before I started this was I actually identified the biggest problems. Yeah. And I've only got half an hour left now, but basically I've kind of ordered them because, and you know, there's a whole process around it, but essentially I've identified some of the biggest problems, and I'm going to fix, well, maybe not fix, but I'm going to try and fix this first one, which is the piano in the second half is jangly. Okay. So, and by the way, hello Rob, and hello Yui. So, the other thing you'll be glad to know, and actually I almost don't want to say this, but I've actually managed to get a hard connection in here, an Ethernet connection by using one of those plug things in the wall, which seems to be working okay. So I'm hoping this isn't wood, but there we go. There's a bit of wood on my synth. So I always wondered why they put wood on the side panels of bits of synthesizers. That's why, isn't it? So that you can touch wood when you need to. Yeah, touch wood will have a much stronger connection. You won't have to go chasing me around the internet in future. All right. So essentially, what I'm looking to do is sort out this piano. In fact, it's two piano parts. Okay. Now, the interesting thing. Hey, Joe. Hello, I. Now, the interesting thing about this process that I've been playing around with in terms of focusing on the problems. Oh, and the other thing I need to tell you about, look, I've now got a transmitter, so I can, with no lead issues, no like, how cool is that? I can like run around my studio. Yeah, it's cool. I can be truly silly. The only problem is my trousers might fall down. So, shout out to Joe Gilder from Home Studio Corner. So I must check out your stuff. Anyway, so here, the interesting thing about focusing on, let's go to Mac Cam, yeah. Focusing on the problems, so identify the problems first. So these are the problems that are present in the piece of music, the biggest ones anyway. And there's a load more problems, but I've just identified the biggest ones, yeah. So the next thing I do is I brainstorm at least 3 options, and this is quite counterintuitive as well, because you would have thought when we're talking about creating certainty and not getting overwhelmed, that just going with the first solution that comes into your head would be the right one. It's absolutely essential, I think, that you have to identify what the problem is for this to work. So what I've noticed in coaching people through this in the last few weeks is that people will say something like, I say, what are the problems? And they'll say, I need to use a different sound on the piano. That's not a problem, that's a solution. So then I ask them, what is the problem that is solving? Yeah, because when you do that, then it opens up some other solutions. So for instance, when I came up with this problem, yeah, the piano in the second half is jangly, yeah, the obvious one is to use a different sound. So I was like, and I usually would have just gone with that, use a different sound on the piano. But because I'd said to myself, I'm going to brainstorm at least 3 options, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to change the EQ on the piano. That's something else I could do, yeah. But then I said to myself I was going to do 3. So then I thought, try a multiple reverb, delay, compression, and EQ chain to create an almost piano, which can be the centerpiece of the final section. Now, I never would have thought about this solution had I not said to myself, I'm going to brainstorm 3 options. And actually, in terms of my own sound, I'm, you know, as you will know if you've been listening to any of my stuff, I'm always using pianos. I've kind of had this idea that what I want to do is I want to start messing with piano sounds so that, you know, doing some sound design, as I call it, sound discovery on piano sounds to kind of create some things which are sort of almost pianos. Yeah. And I'd kind of forgotten about that in this track, but it came back to me when I went for a bunch of options. Yeah. So yes, Joe. These I'm in Australia, and Ugg boots are all the rage over here, especially on where I am, which is the Northern Beaches. So thanks. I's asking, do you have a schedule of when you want to finish solving these problems for? Well, no, I mean the deadline is to get all of these tracks into release by the 1st of August. So essentially they'll be solved when they're solved. And I've chosen the kind of, I've chosen this problem first. Some of these problems may not be a problem after I've solved this problem. This is the other thing. When you go straight to solutions without problems, one of the things you do is you start just changing things when sometimes there's almost like doing things in a good order makes a difference. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to now have a fiddle around with this piano sound, and one of the things just to bear in mind here is I haven't actually sorted out the mix properly, but it's kind of in the ballpark, shall we say. So hopefully this will all work. So that's how it sounds, and the levels are all over the place because I did some gain staging stuff beforehand, and I haven't like put things in the right place yet. But I'm not going to worry about that because I'm just focusing on the piano sound. Okay. So essentially, when I say the piano sound, what I mean is these piano sounds. So that's the top one, and here it goes. Got a load of reverb on there, isn't there? Yeah, and then the other piano sound is doing this. Well, it's very noisy, isn't it? So it's funny because this noir piano sound is already kind of a sound, you know, it's like a kind of sound designy piano sound because it's the, what's he called again? I've forgotten his name. Anyway, I can't remember his name. It's the Native Instruments one made by famous piano player guy. And it's quite sound designy. So anyway, so what I might actually do is just kind of go back to a more neutral piano sound. And let's start by doing that. Why is there oxide on that? That's weird. I don't want that. In fact, I'm going to turn these off. Grand piano, here we go. Nils Fromm, there we go. Yep, I can remember his name. So there we go. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn off the send for now. Hello, Richard. Yeah, I do have the Olafur Arnolds one too. That's like actually my favourite piano sound. The felt piano from Spitfire, the Olafur Arnolds. Can't remember what it's called. Composers. Blah, blah. Anyway, it's absolutely beautiful. Anyway, so in fact, that's this one. This piano here at the start is the Olafur Felt. Anyway, so let's see what we can do with this sound. And I do want to have a kind of a context for it. You'll have to excuse me, I'm learning this DAW at the moment, so when I say what I want a context for it, I mean I want to hear it with other things, maybe not everything. Hang on a minute, how do I do that? It's pre-roll. That'll do. What I might do is turn that down, have that in, because it is kind of a turn this on. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm not going to do this set properly, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'll tell you what, I'll just do it for now. I'm just going to turn down here. There we go. You can hear this piano is all over the place. Like, I haven't played it very well. I'm not too worried about that though, because it's kind of like sort of bed. Makes sense? So let's move you down. Actually thinking maybe let's try bright felt. I need something a bit brighter. It's an annoying loop point, isn't it? That's why. Ugh. Right, there we go. Let's just start with the 1073 as I've got other things doing that. Actually no, I'm going to end with the 1073 I think. Kind of want to make it a bit more present. A lot of EQ on there. Just take out a bit of the. Ooh. See what happens when I go nuts. Now, bear in mind, I can always replay this if the sound that I end up with, it makes it too out. Yeah, so I'm not worried too much about me having played that really, really badly. Yeah. Something cool about Ravel here, by the way, is you can fold the part here and all the MIDI editing that happens on this screen, which is a bit weird at first, but actually it's kind of killer when you get used to it. Because the other thing that you can do is you can fit. So if I unfold, there we go, and then just fit. Yeah, so that's fitting all of the notes there and onto the amount of space that you've got in the part. Anyway, so all right, seems like a good starting point. Now, something that I've been enjoying recently is, what is it called? Wow, something. No, hang on a minute. We got that. Wow. This is the other great thing about Ravel, is that you can find plugins super easily by searching in this thing over here. Okay. Okay, so this doesn't have... Now, that's a bit... I don't think I want it to be quite that crazy, but... So what I usually do, by the way, when I'm doing this kind of thing, is I just find something which is a starting point. I'm always looking for starting points, so I don't have to, build from the ground up. Yeah, it's quite good. That one, I think. Alright, let's go start there. Leave it. Ooh. Turn off the noise. Right. Now let's just go with that for now. There's not enormous amount going on there, but it is something. Now, because I've got to have this on a bit quiet so that it doesn't bleed into the mic, because I'm trying not to use headphones because I was deafening myself before when I was doing live streams before. I've got to put this on, and the unfortunate thing is that this causes the mic to go too close to my mouth, so apologies if it messes with the sound. I'm going to have to work that out on future live streams. Let's just bend that out a bit. There we go. Okay, so let's have a listen. Why is my headphone not working? Alright, let's try this. There we go. Bit of the old hyper treble. All right, let's go. Let's leave that like that. I'm just going to change. I don't want that on there. What have I got the other piano going through? Studa, you're up. Right. Okay. There we go. Right now, what I need to check is I've got this level. A minute. Whoop. Steady on. Right, there we go. Oh, that's fine. Hang on. There we go. I was like, that's really quiet. Why is that really quiet? Yes, because that's one thing that I don't like about Luna is that it's not. I mean, it kind of is obvious that these things are bypassed or not. So that's not bypassed, and that is bypassed, but it's not obvious enough. I've actually sent another good thing about Luna is you can send feedback in here, and it goes straight to them about how they can improve it. Yeah, which is really cool. Anyway, so, and by the way, I'm not here to hawk Luna. It's not right for everyone. I've just found it's like they've thought of lots of things that I really like. And the summing and the way that you can put how they've implemented the tape on each channel if you want it is stunning. Really stunning. And that's coming from somebody who I don't put I put much more focus on the start of the creative process and the ideas themselves than this kind of thing. But I have to just hold my hands up and say it makes, for me anyway, a huge difference. So anyway, so there we go. Now, obviously, I should have, thinking about it, done that before I put this plug-in on, which was a foolish move, but hey. Oh, it's compressing the absolute beep out of it. Look at that. It's going down by minus 15. Let's hear what that sounds like when it actually comes in, though. That might be a problem. Let's just hide you. And a minute. I can't remember what the shortcut is. What is it? There you go. Right. There might be a big pop. One thing I haven't worked out is how to, I've got to sort that out as well, how to easily solo and not solo. I haven't got that sorted yet. No, that's okay. No issues whatsoever. Cool. Right, just needs a bit more juice. Okay. Oh, I've got 5 more minutes. Right, let's bump that up a bit. Where are you? Level? Where are you? Here we are. Okay. The only thing about this legacy one is that it doesn't have another output knob on it. So I might, next time, because that actually changes the sound, whereas the output knob on the non-legacy one, the later one, doesn't change the coloration of the sound. But anyway. That will do. Now let's turn on... Oh, I haven't got this sorted out, I don't think. It should be. There it is. Right, okay, so 19. Let's just put a bit more gain in there. Okay, so essentially what I just did in the last 25 minutes was kind of design. I mean, you know, it's not exactly full down to sound design, but I kind of changed the sound significantly of this thing, really using a discovery process. I didn't really have a specific goal in mind, but I was just kind of going with, I'll use this, I'll use that, I'll use the other, I'll try this, try that, and just listen for what kind of pops out of me. And now I've ended up in a place, and I'm not going to judge it now too much. I'm going to export this. I'm just going to get, you know, when I leave, because I've got to go now, but when I'm going to export this section with that piano at the right level, and then listen back to it and see if, you know, what I can add to it, what I can change, or if it's absolutely fine as it is. Essentially splurging the sound design process, if you like. And also, you know, just bear in mind simplifying the sound design process by starting with presets, starting with sounds that are already created, and then adding different flavors to them. You don't have to do it that way. You can kind of start from the ground up. But I just find that it's a lot quicker, and there's no downside to it really. So let's just have a quick listen. Let's just turn it down a bit. What happens if I just add the... Yeah. So there's a few things about that, already hearing it now, that I'm thinking, but I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm going to export this, and then, you know, I will have made some progress on this problem, because I've also got the higher piano to deal with, that one, yeah. So yeah, I need to do that with the second piano. So I'm just going to make a note for myself. That is next action. Alter the second piano sound. Okay. So that is it for today. I am going to love you and leave you right now. I've got a coaching session with one of my masterminders in precisely 3 minutes, so I don't want to be late for that. So I will be going on, you know, coming back live streaming multiple times for the next 4 weeks in finishing this album and doing the kind of thing that I'm showing you here, doing the mixing, learning Luna, at the same time, showing you how I apply the principles of the automatic music machine, which, I think a lot of people think it's just about the start of the process. How I apply the principles of the automatic music machine to the end of the process as well, because really it is a finishing system, if you like. So if you like this, if you want more of this, click like, set your, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, ring my bell, and I will see you very soon. So until then, onwards and upwards.